Implicit biases are the unconscious, unintentional, and automatic biases that affect our judgments, decisions, and behavior. These biases come from our experiences. So, what we've been through in life. And our identities. Our identities are how the world sees us, so of course it affects the experiences we have. Something as simple as the clothes your parents were able to afford affects the unconscious thoughts and therefore biases we end up having. Implicit biases, while automatic, are learned. Just as they were learned, they can be unlearned. While it might take some time, it can be done. I'll show you an example of someone with an implicit bias. I'll then show you methods to recognize implicit biases and how to get rid of them. Lauren lives in a wealthy suburb with her parents. Close to her neighborhood is a rundown apartment full of people Lauren has learned are rowdy and disrespectful. While she's never been to that part of town, her parents have always warned her to never go there because it's dangerous. Due to a new change in leadership within the city governance, kids from that rundown apartment will now be supplied a school bus to get to her school since it's closer. Laura has found this new policy has caused the number of kids from that side of town to almost double in her classrooms. She is partnered with a girl from that side of town for a project and immediately feels dread. The girl introduces herself as Kelly and immediately asks for a pencil. Laura is hesitant to share with Kelly because she is afraid Kelly will steal her pencil. She reluctantly hands it to Kelly and asks for it back at the end of the day. When Laura sees Kelly at the end of the day, she asks for her pencil back. Kelly apologizes, saying she lost it. Laura doesn't believe her, and when she gets home, complains to her brother about the incident, calling Kelly a thief and liar. Her brother questions her, asking why she would call Kelly a thief and liar, when she didn't make the same accusations against Diana last week, who also borrowed her pencil and said she lost it. Can you see how Laura's implicit biases were formed and how they affected her relationship with the world? Without realizing it, she attributed negative stereotypes to a stranger based solely on an aspect of their identity. How disastrous of an effect do you think this thinking would have on the healthcare system if Laura entered the workforce without ever addressing it? Implicit bias can come from the smallest experiences. Experiences you didn't even realize have an effect on the way you think. In this scenario, Laura was prompted to recognize her biases because of a question from her brother. However, if her brother never asked this question, she can begin by recognizing her biases by becoming aware of her feelings of dread when she is around Kelly. Or by questioning herself on why her first thought was that Kelly would steal her pencil. Through implicit bias training and becoming aware of how biases are formed and how some of them can be unconscious, you can begin to consciously notice your interactions with the world. Afterwards, to mitigate your implicit biases, you can do a couple things. 1. See every person as a unique individual. When people are not seen as individuals, people fall onto using stereotypes that can often attribute inaccurate assumptions to a person. Another way is to educate yourself. If you believe your biases rely on facts rather than assumptions, then double check. Pull up statistics, read unbiased reports, and know the history. Lastly, be okay with making mistakes. An implicit bias is an unconscious bias. You are not aware of it. When you do become aware, you may find yourself still using it without thinking. This is natural and can be overcome with practice and patience. If you find yourself using a negative bias in a situation, stop and take a minute to correct yourself.